Welcome to the Explainer. We're going to break down three huge forces that are all hitting the developer world at the same time. And look, this is a real make-or-break moment for anyone out there building, well, anything. Apps, games, new platforms, you name it.
All right, so let's dive right in. The year is 2026. You've got these three massive waves about to crash down on your project. The real question is, are you ready? We're going to unpack a super important document here that really lays out these trends, and more importantly, who's going to win and who's going to get left behind in the indie space. And just to be clear, this isn't some far-off future stuff. This is happening right now.
Okay, first up, we're looking at a pretty major threat, honestly. It's like a regulatory storm has just appeared out of nowhere for AI, and it's sweeping across the United States. And the crazy part? It's moving way, way faster than anybody thought it would.
78. That's the number to remember. Right now, there are 78 different AI chatbot safety bills being pushed forward in 27 states. So, this isn't some vague problem for the federal government to solve someday. No, this is a state-by-state reality, and it could hit your app, like, by the end of this quarter.
And these aren't just suggestions either. The rules are getting super specific. We're talking stuff that directly impacts your UI. You have to label AI content. It impacts your marketing. No more calling your app an AI therapist. It even hits your back-end code, especially if your app touches on sensitive topics like mental health, or if kids can use it.
So you've got these three potential futures, right? A simple federal rule, a total mess of 50 different rules, or something in the middle. And, well, all signs are pointing right at that middle option, the base case. What does that mean for you? It means if you have users in big states like California, Washington, or Virginia, you need a compliance plan, like yesterday. Don't hold your breath waiting for one single federal law to make this all easy.
Okay, so that was the threat. Let's switch gears to our second force, because this is where things get interesting. We're moving from a major problem to a massive opportunity. You know that thick, decade-long fog of confusion around crypto regulation? Well, it's finally starting to lift.
And the reason for that is something called the Clarity Act. This is a huge deal. For the first time, it creates a simple three-tiered system for digital assets. But the most important piece of this whole thing is this new category they've created, digital commodities. See, for years, the nightmare question for every developer has been, is my in-game token an illegal security? This act basically says, for most in-game tokens and NFTs, the answer is no. They're commodities, which puts them under a whole different set of rules.
And that is a total game changer. It means you'd be developing under the much more flexible rules of the CFTC, not the super restrictive SEC. That constant fear, that worry that's been holding back so much creativity and money in the Web3 gaming space, it could actually be over soon.
And look, this isn't just some wishful thinking. You have the CEOs of JP Morgan, Ripple, and Coinbase, people who don't always see eye to eye, all basically saying the same thing. They predict this thing is going to pass by mid-2026. When these guys agree, you know something big is about to happen. A massive new market is about to get the green light.
And when we say massive, what does that actually mean in dollars? How about $150 billion? That's with a B. That's the amount of institutional money that a firm called Chainalysis estimates it's just sitting there, waiting on the sidelines, ready to flood into digital assets the moment this law passes. And guess where a huge chunk of that is headed? Straight for GameFi.
Okay, so let's recap. We've got a regulatory threat you have to deal with, and a huge market opportunity you can jump on. But how do you actually win? How do you put it all together? Well, that brings us to our third force, a whole new formula for indie success, and it's perfectly shown by one incredible breakout game. Let's talk about the rise of Clair-Obscur, Expedition 33. This game, from a brand new studio in France, didn't just do well. Its launch was just explosive. 1 million copies in 3 days, over 5 million in 5 months. I mean, this trajectory completely rewrote the playbook for an indie launch. And the craziest part? They did all this while launching day one on Game Pass, which a lot of people thought was impossible. So, what was their secret? It wasn't about having a bigger budget. It wasn't about cramming in more features. It was about having a completely unique and unforgettable identity. Everything from the Bella Puck art style to the powerful story hook to the amazing sound design to the fresh take on combat, it all worked together perfectly.
And when the folks at GDC broke this down, they found a really clear tactical playbook that you can use. The big takeaway? Your Steam page isn't just an art gallery for your game, it's a science experiment. It's an algorithm test. Your capsule art? That's your #1 most important marketing asset. period. And here's a killer tip. Figure out what makes your game pop on TikTok first, then build your Steam page around that winning angle. It's all about finding your magic and then managing player expectations.
All right, we've laid out the threat, we've seen the opportunity, and we've looked at the new formula for success. So, what now? Let's pull this all together into a real, strategic action plan, a survival guide, if you will.
In the short term, I'm talking this week, here are 3 things you can do right away. First, make a list of all your apps that use AI. Second, figure out where your top 5 user states are and look up their AI bills. And third, start following the Clarity Act's progress. This isn't about coding yet, it's about knowing exactly where you stand and what's coming.
Now, for the next 1 to 3 months, it's time to shift from knowing to doing. Start prepping those UI updates for AI disclosures. If your app deals with emotional stuff, get crisis resource linking on your roadmap. Sketch out a what-if plan for your Web3 game for the day the Clarity Act passes. And start A/B testing new capsule art for your Steam page. Time to get proactive.
And then, looking out over the next year, this is where you really build for the future. You're going to want to schedule an hour with a lawyer about a month after the Clarity Act passes just to be safe. You should think about taking your own story and pitching it as a GDC talk for next year. And most importantly, all your new projects, design them from day one with this new global compliance landscape in mind. The goal is to stop reacting and start leading.
So that brings us to the big question for 2026. In a world where just writing code isn't enough, what are you? An artist? A lawyer? A strategist? The truth is, to win now, you have to be all 3. The lines have completely blurred. The developers who are going to thrive are the ones who can master the art, navigate the law, and execute a killer strategy. It's a whole new ballgame out there. Thanks for watching.